All right, black women are getting evicted from their homes at an alarming rate. In fact, more than any other group, and that's according to a brand new analysis from USA Today looking at 4 years of local and national data. But why exactly is this happening, and can we do anything to stop it? Of course we can. Joining me now are two experts on the issue. Rashida Phillips, she's the director of housing at PolicyLink. She's also making her cross-connection debut this morning, so thank you for being here. And friend of the show, Diane Yentel, returning champion. She's president and CEO of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Very happy to have both you ladies here. Diane, I want to start with you. Is this a case of many people, regardless of race, owing back rent, but black women bearing the brunt of the eviction crisis?
That's certainly a part of it. The eviction crisis existed long before the pandemic, but the pandemic exacerbated it. And certainly pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic, black women are most harmed. It happens as a result of structural racism. It happens through a broken housing system that favors landlords at the expense of renters, and through a social safety net with gaping holes for predominantly black women to fall through. We did have some protections and resources in place during the pandemic to prevent the eviction tsunami that otherwise would have happened. But now, as those resources are being depleted and as the protections are expiring, evictions in many communities are surpassing pre-pandemic averages.
Well, given that black women are overrepresented when it comes to evictions, Rashida, evicting black women also means evicting black children. What's the impact on families when this happens, particularly disproportionate to people who look like you and I?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, the odds are stacked against black women and their families at every turn. It's not just housing, it's the economy and legal system that undercut them both before and after the eviction. And what we see that every system is designed to fail black women and their families at every turn. And it's not just a coincidence. The entire system is built on this outcome. And so we need to be asking who profits and benefits from that outcome. But the results are, right, that when families are evicted, it's a lifelong impact. It thrusts them into poverty. And as the USA News story talked about, right, the impacts are far reaching. It impacts people's educational opportunities. It impacts their ability to access future housing that is safe and healthy for them, right? When families are forced out of their homes, they're forced into circumstances that are far worse than the ones that they just left, and particularly because their choices are impacted by what just happened with that eviction. And so again, what you saw in the story, when someone's evicted, they have an eviction record that follows them long term, right? They have to move out of their school district, they have to move away from hospitals or medical places that they're close to, right? So it just has far-ranging impacts, not just on the person evicted, but their entire families and for the rest of their lives often.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Diane, I understand that some people may get these eviction notices. They look like, very official documents. They're from the court, and it's a lot of legalese there. And some people just don't know how to navigate it. They don't even know how to fight it. Sometimes these notices are for $10 or $20 in back rent. One day when I write another book, I'll tell my own testimony about such things. But I do understand that you just don't always know what to do when it comes to that. How can women who are in this situation now navigate the court system when it comes to getting evicted?
Well, the first thing to understand is that only a court can evict a person from their apartment. So if somebody receives an eviction notice, they should stay in their apartment, see if they are able to get legal counsel through legal aid or other ways to get legal representation, so that when they go to court, they can have somebody assist them with the process in defending and staying in their home. Unfortunately, that's one of the real systemic challenges that exists in our housing system, where today about 90% of landlords show up to court with legal representation, but fewer than 10% of tenants do. So, one of the structural solutions to this is to get right to counsel so that all tenants who are threatened with losing their home have legal representation to help them defend it. But the most important thing to do is stay in place, look for assistance with legal aid, and also to see if there's assistance available through emergency rental assistance programs to help pay that back rent that might be owed.
Yeah, and if you can't afford your rent, I'm assuming you don't know that you can afford a lawyer. So that, you're at a disadvantage when it comes to the court system. Rashida, we're coming up against the end of pandemic protections for a lot of people when it comes to owing back rent, owing, mortgage companies, et cetera. A lot of the people who are filing these evictions actually got money from the federal government to cover their expenses, the protections in place for them so that they wouldn't be evicting people. How does that work? And how can and tenants, people who are facing eviction, how can they navigate that process as well?
The challenge with some of these rental assistance programs is that it's the same challenges that existed before the pandemic. It's challenging for people to access applications. It takes a long time to process those applications. There weren't systems in place to really be able to move this money quickly. And so people are still at risk. People are still facing eviction. And the same confluence of factors that made Black women the highest evicted group, both before and during the pandemic, right, are the same factors that are going to make them exposed and the most vulnerable and at risk after we start to recover from the pandemic. And so in order to address that, right, we need some both immediate and long-term solutions. We need to extend rental assistance, emergency rental assistance, make those programs permanent. We also need right to counsel everywhere. We need tenants to be able to access free legal representation that, just diminishes the risk that they will be homeless and be put out on the streets. And then we also need protections and measures that are going to seal people's eviction records, right? So again, that record doesn't follow them for the rest of their lives and prevent them from being able to access housing opportunities into the future. Yeah. So ultimately, we need to fundamentally transform our housing policies and systems so that they prioritize Black women and other vulnerable people.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say it is a very scary thing, I imagine, for a mother to be with her children and know that she has to vacate the premises and have nowhere to go.